My name is Robert Brown, the chair of the printmaking department at SCAD Atlanta. So we have two campuses, Savannah, Atlanta, Hong Kong. I'm in Atlanta. The Atlanta campus has printmaking as a major and sculpture as a major, so that for the fine arts, it's very good. What I want to talk about are some of our classes. And these classes are specifically centered around industry connection. And so the classes are taught collaboratively with major companies like BMW, companies like Mercedes-Benz, Indigo Hotels. Our students get direct access to the people in those companies during these projects, and frequently the students get internships or jobs from these classes because they're able to interact with the company and the company sees that they do good work, and then they hire them afterwards. So these are some of the companies that we've worked with in the past. I'm going to show you 3 classes that I've taught personally, but at any given time on campus, you know, if I'm teaching one class with the Noble Hotel Group or something like that, there's other classes being taught as well. So I'm not the only person that teaches these classes. There might be people working with Cartoon Network. There might be people working with any of these companies, Coca-Cola, BMW. And each time a company decides to work with us, they have a specific design problem that they bring, and the class's job is to solve the design problem. Does that make sense? So last project we did with Coca-Cola, they were looking to find new ways to market to young people because their marketing strategies were working well for people my age, but they wanted to be attracting people your age. Sometimes the company wants art. So, you know, especially in the School of Fine Arts, they want student artwork for the walls and for their halls. And sometimes they're looking for something else. So I'm going to go through a few of those classes with you. This project is with BMW. BMW was creating a new headquarters in the United States, and they wanted to commission artwork for the headquarters. So the design challenge there was the students were to create proposals for artworks that would cost, and they were given a budget for each of their artworks of $15,000. So imagine being able to think about a project that's very large in scope. These are the students, and this is the lead curator for BMW. And so we're doing, and so that's me, that's the teacher I was teaching with. These classes are taught by 2 teachers because they're very complex and there's a lot of pressure. Also, we want students from 2 different disciplines to work together. So I had printmaking students and sculpture students, and Sandro is in motion media. Motion media is graphic design that moves. So film credits, infographics, things like that. And so some students were proposing things that were in motion, and some students were proposing artworks. The first thing that happens with any of these projects is research, because you can't just make something and expect that the company likes it. You have to go to the company and you have to research what their design aesthetic is and what their corporate culture is like, so that when you're proposing artworks, it matches up with their expectations. In order to be one of these students, to be selected for this type of class, you need to be a top student in your field. You need to be a junior or a senior or a grad student. And you need to be willing to work collaboratively as a group. So this is not for people who like to work alone. Because these classes are so complex, each one of the students has particular strengths. This student was a motion media student. She was very good at animation. Fine arts students who were excellent at fabrication, making things. And then motion media students who were really excellent at creating 3D models in the computer. As we went through the tour of the facility, the students were able to talk to the architect who was involved in designing the new space. And so they could talk to her directly about the materials they were going to use in the building and the design philosophy of the architectural firm. They also are expected to present. And so you have to be very good and very professional in creating a presentation that the company's is going to be seen by important people in the company. So not just images, but images that are designed and images that are informative. Also, you need to be professional and speak clearly and be good alone up on stage. It's very important, especially once you get into a design world, to be able to talk about your idea in a way that helps people understand why it's important. One of the first projects that was chosen, this is a maquette, so it's a very small model of the actual thing. After the tour, the student was impressed by the way that the robots in the factory that were constructing the cars were working alongside people, and that there is a balance between humans and machines working together. And so she wanted to create something that looks like a gear, but is actually made up of actual scans of factory workers' hands. They put their hands on a scanner, and it scanned the hand, and so these are hand prints with a thumb, can you see? And then stacked together, it looks sort of like a gear. This person was a motion media student, so she wanted to do something that was a moving, animated display. She was impressed by the number of cars that were coming off the factory, and she was also impressed with the organization of the factory because each car was for a specific person. So they're not just producing car after car. The car is coming down the line, and it's a color that's been ordered. It had the features and options that the person ordered as well. And so almost each car was an individual on the production line. And so she designed animated flowers that bloomed every time a car came off the assembly line. And it bloomed in the color of the car. So you can see that the students are taking time to relate their design project to something really specific that the company's doing. This person wanted to make a copper sculpture, and she's using a combination of copper that's been etched with drawings and patterns, and then it's been stitched with thread. The stitching represents the architecture of the buildings that were demolished when they constructed the factory. So it's the history of the space that the factory was built on. So these 3 students were given the Purchase Award. And so this project ended up costing about $17,000. Half of that money goes to the student, and the other half of the money goes to fabrication and materials. So what's interesting as well about this class is students are learning how to make proposals for things that they don't know how to make necessarily. They're learning how to do the research to find fabricators and to find the facility to create something that's much bigger in scope than they're used to producing. And so this is the actual thing that she's starting to create. So, she was able to create most of the copper herself. She's a printmaking student, and so she's used to etching copper. But she didn't know how to make the stainless steel frame for it, because she's using the plate as sculpture instead of the printing from it like you would normally do. All of these things had to be made with materials that were going to last because they're permanent installation. So this is it being fabricated in a workshop in Atlanta. And then this is the picture of it being installed in the shop in BMW. It was installed in a place where the light could come in and really make the copper look like it was interesting and changing color. This is an image of the LED screen being installed for the flower installation piece. And so it's tied with the production line. So every time a car comes out, another flower blooms. And so there's 2 white cars and a red car that were on the production line. They have silver flowers and black flowers and all the different colors. And this is an image of the hands. And so now this is actual life size, or a little bit larger than life size. And she used a nice piece of wood so that it has the wood grain. And so it really amplifies that human and machine, or natural and man-made, working together. This is an image of how it stands in the thing, so you get a sense of the scale. And so you can see the BMW is there. This company, or this factory, produces the BMW SUVs, and it started off producing these little roadsters, the Z3. Another image of the thing. And the laser cutter that made the plywood leaves a nice patina, burnt edge on the plywood as well.
How many plywoods were used?
I believe she calculated it to be representative of the number of factory workers. So there's 8 hands on a layer, and then there's enough layers to make up all of the workers that worked at that plant. So each hand, each layer represents the number of factory workers. So this is a type of opportunity that artists, if they know about how to make this proposal, is a way to make money. Whenever, in the United States at least, whenever public buildings are built, there's a percentage of the budget left aside for fine art. And they usually spend those chunks of money as big projects. And so they put together something called a call for proposals. And so if you know how to research and budget and find fabricators, you can put in for call for proposals. And it's another way of making money as a fine artist besides trying to sell your work in a gallery, which is a dying model. Galleries are getting smaller, online sales are getting bigger, and then public art sales are getting even bigger. So, no matter what your major is, if you're thinking about being a graphic designer, illustrator, animator, fine artist, you're going to become an entrepreneur, which means that you're working for yourself and you're trying to find as many different income sources as you can find, so that if one dries up, you still have 2 more or 3 more. And so this is part of how we train our fine artists to remain successful.